What is going on, everybody? This is the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller, and we're going to talk about National Signing Day 2025. I guess you can call it 2025. And yes, National Signing Day was today of this recording, which is December 4th, 2024. And we're going to talk about the players that Georgia Southern football was able to obtain through commitments and talk about some of these players. Not to get too far in depth, I will probably be doing that in a separate episode on individual players. Because if I talk about every single player and all of their accomplishments, I will be here for maybe 12 hours. And maybe that would be a cool thing, but yeah, I could talk, but I can't talk that long. So this is a special episode, so hopefully you guys will check this out and enjoy this episode, because I think Georgia Southern is on the rise. I mean, we just came off an 8-4 season. We didn't make it to the Sun Belt title game, but we are going to a possible, prominent bowl. And I'm hearing a lot of rumblings about us going to possibly playing against Sam Houston, which will be extremely interesting. But before we get to that, let's talk about National Signing Day. 18 players was picked up by Georgia Southern, and 13 of them played high school in the state of Georgia. So we're keeping things in-house, constantly going through the state of Georgia, which something that Coach Clay Helton has done a phenomenal job of doing. And he's also got players out of North Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, even in Ireland. We went all the way to Ireland. And last but not least, we did go to the neighboring state of Alabama. Got 2 players out of there. So we're going to talk about those players and get a little bit of in-depth of everybody on a surface level of who we got coming in. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This podcast is usually ran in the front part of the week around Tuesday, Monday night, Tuesday morning. I try to give you a recap of what happened throughout the week when it comes to Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. Not talking too much about Atlanta Falcons football right now, because Georgia Southern is on the forefront right now with this excellent signing day that these guys put together. Shout out to Coach Clay Helton and the staff. I think they did a great job. And what we're going to look at in this roster, or these group of players that they did pick up, they got some guys out that are going to be in the trenches. And that's a big emphasis on that front 7 on defense and that offensive line on offense. This is very integral of what Coach Clay Helton likes to do. A lot of people talk about the air raid and the passing game and all this stuff. But one thing about Clay Helton that he likes to do as well, he kind of mixes it up a little bit and want the receivers, and he wants the running backs and everything. But you don't realize that, and a lot of people may not realize, but he does put an emphasis on the trenches. I think he done a phenomenal job with a few guys that he brought in. You talk about the Pashawn Wimbleys of the world. You talk about Latrell Bullards, those guys that he brought in, and people of that ilk. He done a good job, and he's continuing that entire mantra with this draft class, with this recruiting class. So let's go down the list of everybody that he brought in. I'm gonna give you my thoughts and opinions on each one. Talk a little bit about each one, which one stands out as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, I could be talking about these guys all day long if I go list by list, or not list by list, but stat by stat of what they did. So I will be talking about some of these guys on a later, more in depth, individually at a later date. So let's talk about the kicker, Donnell Dempsey out of Ireland. So we did get a kicker. Well, we got a punter out of Australia, and I guess we're continuing that, trying to get guys from overseas, bring those guys in who can be a specialty at that position. So Donnell Dempsey, I want to say if I said that right, out of Ireland, 5'11", 175. Very interesting pickup there. And like I said, I can't wait to see how well he does if he do get the starting job. Now, we're going to start talking about the linebackers. Caleb Butler, linebacker, 6'1", 220, out of Brunswick. I saw a little bit of tape on this guy. He looks really good at getting after the quarterback, playing a little bit all over the place around that, but I've seen him move around and get a good bit of tackles. So I can't wait to see how he would fit in with this team. And very good pick. I've seen some people talk about him and bringing him from the Brunswick area. He's not too far from home, so that helps out a lot. Tay McKibbins, offensive lineman, 6'4", 310 out of Atlanta, Georgia. Cass High School. Got to get more depth on that offensive line. We're losing some players, so it's good to bring some guys into the fold. So at 6'4", 310, very good size for that position. Amari Wilson, a defensive end, 6'2", 245 out of Moultrie, Georgia. Another kid that's not too far from home, so that helps out a lot. And that 6'4", 245 is your prototypical size for a guy that's a defensive end. He has the weight and he has the size. Good to want to see how he would play on that edge at that size and see how much speed he has. Saw a little bit of tape on him. Does look very, very promising. Caleb Ellis, a defensive tackle, 6'2", 280. Right around that area that you would like to have a defensive tackle, 280 plus. We do have some guys that are already over 340 in the Latrell Bullets of the world. And I think it's another, I can't remember the other guy's name. And it just slipped my mind that quick. But we got a couple of guys that are really, really big. But to bring a guy that's coming in, probably rotate him in and out if he's ready to go and have him come in and rotate in and out if need be. Braxton McClester, linebacker, 6'3", 215 out of Douglasville. That's close to where I am right now up in the area here. Douglasville, Douglas County, Douglasville, Georgia, they got some pretty good, football players, excuse me. Got some pretty good football players in that area, and good to see us bringing guys from, not just the Roswell area, just like Caleb Ellis is out of Milton High School. You bring in another guy out of Douglasville. Trying to recruit out of the Atlanta area is not easy. So was to bring guys down from that area, absolutely, it works absolutely awesome. It is really cool. Irwin County, you have a guy from Irwin County High School from Atlantic City, New Jersey, Elijah Fears, defensive tackle. Another guy, like I said, 6'2", 300 pounds. Another guy that's about that big size and want to fill in that gap. Really good size right there. Can't wait to see him play. So you got another defensive tackle. So far, everybody that I talked about, everybody except for two people that I've talked about that are in the trenches, from linebackers and defensive tackle, offensive line. I'm telling you, looks like this the mantra where we're going at. You look at the next person, we actually picked up a safety, Elijah French. I think I said that right because he has two F's in front of his last name, but I'm just going to say Elijah French, safety, 6'1", 190 out of Tucker, Georgia. Once again, getting guys out of that Atlanta area is tough to do because there's so much talent up here. Shout out to Coach Clay Helton and them, bringing guys from the Atlanta area and pulling them and bringing them down here to Statesboro. It's absolutely amazing when you really think about it. Because like I said, you got Georgia, you got Georgia Tech, you also have Georgia State, you got Kennesaw State, you got 4 colleges up here that are in the FBS, and we're able to pull guys from this area. Is absolutely amazing when you think about it. Lee County quarterback Brian Weston, quarterback out of Leesburg, Georgia, 6'4", 240. I've heard a lot of hype about this guy, and I really don't want to get into the quarterback situation because that is a very important situation for Georgia Southern, but this is an excellent pickup right here. I've seen some tape on him as well. Looks really good, can run and can throw, and at that size, some people has actually called him the second coming of Tim Tebow. I don't know what the actual jury out is on, how the jury really feels about that, or I've just seen some tape and I saw it. Only seen 1 or 2 people say that. But with that being said, excellent pickup because I like what I see. Big quarterback at that size. Listen, when you have a offense that Coach Clay Helton has, this is the type of quarterback you would want. Big, strong, physical quarterback. Something that we've been wanting to see ever since we had Cam Ransom here. But unfortunately, that didn't play out as like we want to. Hopefully, Weston or the other quarterback that I'm going to talk about a little bit later would pan out as well. Next person that we want to talk about, next player is Jeremiah Ware, wide receiver, 5'11", 190 out of Gainesville, Georgia. Once again, you're picking people out of this area. Gainesville, Georgia is not too far from Athens. I don't know if Georgia actually tried to pick him up. I don't know. But when you get people out of this area, it's not easy. And we picked up another wide receiver, which you got a few wide receivers that are leaving. So bring another guy in on top of the guys we have is just continue to bring that rotation into the fold. So that's excellent that we did pick up another wide receiver. We got another offensive lineman that we're going to talk about, 6'5", 300, out of the Atlanta, Georgia area, Tucker High School. He is, from what I see, looks like he is the teammate of Elijah French. Both of them went to Tucker High School, so that's pretty cool that you're getting players out of the same school. So you got some type of familiarity between the two, and one's on defense, one's on offense. So that's pretty neat to get that going. Once again, out of the Atlanta area, not really easy to pull people out of that area. Another offensive lineman, Brandon Stoner, offensive lineman, 6'4", 315, out of Louisville, Kentucky, R.D. Kell High School. I don't know how we pull somebody out of Kentucky, but that is absolutely awesome that we got somebody from that area. I think that's R.D. Kell High School could be from Kentucky. I think it is from Kentucky from what I see on the screen, gseagles.com. Excellent pickup right there to bring a guy down here and see if he could play with us. 6'4", 315, nice size for offensive lineman. We want to get these guys in the guard and tackle spot at that size. We'll see how that plays out. Defensive end out of Jacksonville, Florida, Nigel Eldridge Jr., defensive end, 6'2.5", 255. Excellent size for him out of Jacksonville, Florida, not too far from home. Can come up and he'll play straight up out up I-95 and actually have a guy that's from the Florida area. Kind of helps us to keep some type of pipeline in that area as well. Want to see how he plays out on the defensive end, because honestly, we talk about the defensive tackles, we talk about the linebackers, but I want to see if we can get a real presence on that edge rush. We saw a little bit of that at the end of the season, and we can get some guys that can rotate in and out. If he's going to be a part of that can start right away, that'd be awesome, or play right away. Quarterback, Charlie Johnston, 6'5", 200, out of Moody, Alabama. There's been a lot of hype behind this quarterback as well. 4-star recruit. He's been moved up to a 4-star. We was able to bring him in. Now, I will say this. I don't know the whole situation with J.C. French. I don't know how things are going to play out with the other guys. You got a lot of quarterbacks here that I've heard that are pretty good. The Tyler Budges of the world. You also have Colton Fitzgerald still here. You bring in a Weston Bryan, and you also bring in a Charlie Johnston. This quarterback room is going to be once again going to be pretty full of talent. And when you see a guy like Charlie Johnston come in, standing in at 6'5" and 200, and I watched some of his mechanics as well as Brian Weston, these two guys look like they're ready to actually grasp the playbook and try to make things happen. Now, a lot of this quarterback stuff is mental, so I can't say that these guys are going to be starting right away, but it's hard not to envision something like that when you got a guy or a couple of guys that are, prototypical guys that can run this offense that they're running, especially a Charlie Johnston. I know that today's quarterback needs to move around a little bit, run a little bit, and get out of the pocket. And I see that's what Weston Bryan tries to do, and J.C. French does as well. I don't know too much of that about Charlie Johnston, but if he can get the ball out quick, we're talking about a totally different ball game when it comes to the air raid style offense that we have. So, like I said, it's a lot to talk about when it comes to the quarterback position. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go that far, because we know how the quarterback position is at Georgia Southern, how Coach Clay Helton, how he handles it is a lot different than others. So very interesting to bring these two quarterbacks in. Peyton Plott, wide receiver, 5'9", 175, out of Auburn High School, Auburn, Alabama. Good to get some guys out of the Alabama area, bringing those guys over here as well. Kind of like, this whole Southeast area, Coach Clay Helton is reaching all over the place. I mean, last season, if you're not familiar, last season he went up there to North Carolina and got some guys. Before that, the year before that, he got a lot of guys pretty much out of the Georgia and Florida area. So it's a lot that he's trying to reach out to, and he's just expanding by going to the Kentuckys, and you're going to Florida and now Alabama. Really, really cool how he got Plott and Charlie Johnston out of Alabama. Really, really interesting and cool to see as well. Jace Molden, offensive line, 6'2", 285, out of Leesburg, Georgia. Once again, up here in this area. I think Leesburg, did I get it right? I think Leesburg's up here in the area of Atlanta as well. bringing guys down from Lee County High School. Also, he is a teammate of Byron. I keep calling him Byron. He's a teammate of Weston Bryant. Both of them guys from Lee County High School. Once again, you're bringing those guys in that are familiar with each other. Kind of similar, like I said last year. Coach Clay Helton pulled a lot of guys from the North Carolina area. I think it was Hogue High School. I think a lot of guys from that area came here. So it's like when he goes to a school or his staff goes to a school, they're not just trying to get one person. If they see somebody they like, they're like, look, we want to get both you guys. And I think there could be some type of a recruiting strategy where you can bring a teammate with you, or we'll try to bring a teammate of yours with you to come here to Georgia Southern. I mean, that's pretty huge. All right, out of South Warren High School, this is a kid that a lot of people have been talking about. I've seen it all up and down my timeline on X. Colton Velt Camp, linebacker, 6'1", 225 out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Listen, we need linebacker help because you got Marquise Watson Trent. He's going to be walking away because, he's graduated. A couple other guys is going to be going. You bring guys like this in. I've already heard rumblings that Colton and the next person that I'm about to talk about could possibly start right away. That's what I've been hearing. And it'll be awesome to see because I've heard a lot about this kid, and hopefully it'll be cool to see a freshman start right away and get themselves implemented into the system. Now, a lot of people say that may not happen. Well, look at Pashawn Wimbley. He started right away. He did excellent at the offensive line position. You look at Latrell Bullard, another guy, he started right away. I think Mark Stampley, he came in and started right away. So you it can happen. It really can happen. Last but not least, this is a guy who was supposed to be going to Georgia State, and he moved over and came over to Georgia Southern after decommitting. I love taking recruits from Georgia State because I don't like that team for anything. It's always Southern, not State. And listen to this. I want to say if I say this right. Akondre Chaney, cornerback, 6'1", 190 out of Thomaston, Georgia, Upson Lee High School. A lot of people, another guy, like I said, that could probably start right away. I don't know because you still got a handful of guys that are playing pretty good at cornerback so far this season or last season. And bringing him in at that size, 6'1", 190, definitely could possibly be in a rotation. Can't have enough cornerbacks. So have him in. If he could get in and start playing right away, Kamon Mathis, you still got Mark Stampley who could play anywhere, everywhere. Chance Gamble, I think he's coming back. Tracy Hill. You got a handful of guys that can play the cornerback position, and bringing him in, that just helps out with everything else. And I'm actually surprised. Well, him and French are the only defensive backs that are coming in, which is, as of right now, pretty cool. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some more people coming in because I think it's up to 20. I want to say 25 people who come in as as a recruits, and plus some of those guys are going to be transfers as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see what else Coach Clay Helton does. And like I said, these last two guys, Colton Veltkamp and Keandre Chaney, I've heard rumblings these guys could probably start right away. And I've heard that from a couple of other guys, which I really don't want to get into because I'll be talking all day. But these last two, I definitely heard about that. That will be absolutely awesome if that's the case. Nevertheless, we got 18 guys here, possibly have more by the time of this recording going up. They just didn't make it to the episode. We'll talk about them at a later date if that happens. Also, I'm going to talk about a few of these guys on separate episodes of the show, or just do a regular video through YouTube or Rumble, so you guys can check that out as well. Listen, I love this class. This is a really good class. A lot of these guys look like they can play right away. Love the fact that we are still pursuing, talent at the quarterback position. Love the fact that we are getting talent in the trenches. We're getting another kicker in here, couple of receivers, couple of defensive backs. What more could you ask for? Coming off an 8-4 season, I think not just the 8-4 season, the way that we went up and down throughout the season and how we finished strong probably made a lot of people think that, hey, this may be the place to be. Not only that, you just got a good coaching staff that actually can bring guys in. If we could just put it all together and start executing on the field, this could be a really big problem for everybody else in the Sun Belt. So that is, this is just great. It's absolutely awesome. So let me know what you guys think. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think about Georgia Southern National Signing Day 2025. I'm not ready to grade this yet because it's just all happened. Maybe once I get more information and see how this plays out with certain players going forward, maybe you can put a grade on it. But as far as getting all the needs that you needed based on position, I can't say nothing. Just A+. You got everything that you needed on in the signing day, at least the position wise. As far as the quality of the players, don't know yet. But yeah, you got the running backs in place, so you didn't have to really pick up a running back. Receivers was pretty much in place, but you bought some more in. But the biggest thing that we needed was more guys on the offensive line and more guys on the defensive line and more guys at linebacker, and it seemed like that's what they did. Let me know what you guys think. YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow me on X at VF Baller, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.